Hello everyone, this is Koji, Celestial Rhythms, and here is the astrological update of the week, January 11th till 15th. The week, I would call it. It's really, everything is coming to a head, to a conclusion over the next 10 days, and this week will be big in many ways, astrologically speaking, for sure. So let's start with this chart, which is pretty much accurate for what's going on right now. This is the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction of today. Mercury and Jupiter meeting here in the 6th degree of Aquarius right here, if we would put the marker right there. So that moment in Washington had the Black Moon and Uranus rising. This in itself shows that yes, it's just about getting really intense, as we predicted, as it was clear from the beginning that this would be the phase where everything would get really crazy, and I mean we're already there. So Mercury Jupiter, that is basically very optimistic energy. Aquarius is the renewal of society, of our whole planet in a higher dimensional way understood. On the lower frequency band, Aquarius can be quite controlling and goes into that direction of artificial intelligence. So every sign, every symbol, every planet in astrology has many different levels of expressing itself, and it depends which frequency we are coming in, which frequency we are attracting, which frequency we are choosing to manifest. That is the one which we then will see, and naturally everybody lives kind of in their own universe, at least has for most of the past, and we are now in a convergence where everyone is starting to feel the same things at the same moment. That last year 2020 was truly amazing in that sense, that everybody was experiencing the same basic experience, having the same reality, living under the same ideas, rules, and fears naturally. So 2020 in many ways was the first sensation of unifying everyone's field, everyone's consciousness, regardless where you were feeling all those other people's anxieties and fears and hopes, and this is getting ever more strong as we go towards that bifurcation, that, well, no, that's the wrong word, towards that confluence. Really, a bifurcation is the opposite. It's a confluence of timelines, which was predicted, the 2012 paradox it was called. So yes, the Jupiter Mercury conjunction today, and then I mean, yes, I now want to roll out a little bit of my thoughts over a greater period of time. So let's go back to another chart here quickly. Let's use this one here. Okay. No, it's not yet showing. My computer is really slow sometimes, so just bear with me. That's the, here we come. That was the Sun Arrokoth conjunction of Friday the 8th, which was a yearly recharging of consciousness energy with that Arrokoth frequency, Arrokoth, that newly found planet in 2014, very small planet, which was visited on January the 1st, 2019 by the New Horizons space probe, which caused science having to rewrite the whole history of our solar system. The insight which were gained on that day, on January 1st, by that close flyby. So Arrokoth proves astrologically to be the one which opens our eyes to a greater picture. I put up this little write-up here. Let me just see if I can pull it up easily. Arrokoth is named after a native tribe's word for a man standing under the open sky, seeing the entire picture. It's the pulling open of the curtains, rewriting history, rewriting our whole story, realization, enlightenment. So this is a powerful little body, and it has been you lining up with the sun on the 8th of January. And what really is the big kind of target we are here moving towards is the new moon of January the 13th. Just throw this in at 0001 a.m. Washington time. That in itself is really interesting. Everything has meaning, as Hermann Hesse, the famous German writer poet, was once saying. Everything, even the smallest detail, contains a fractal of the whole. This time of the new moon being exact on January the 13th, right at 1 second into the new day, is a great synchronicity. Now look at that. Arrokoth at that time in Washington DC will be exactly at the 4th house cusp. 1909 versus 1916. So that's really the source point. That's the kind of the roots of where the energies rise up from the earth, where we are nourished from the below. So this energy coming in is really breaking the matrix open, if you will, and there's many things which are confirming this. Now let me go back a little bit and give you some history here, so you understand the magnitude we are dealing here with of shifts. So there's two basic structures of slow-moving planets which I want to point out here in this first episode of today's. Bienor, Huia, Orcus and Nessus. These are all very slow-moving Kuiper belt objects or centaurs. I talked about those a few times in the last few months as they were slowly getting into resonance with each other and triggering all the storylines which started developing and getting ready for some bigger breakthroughs. So maybe the most powerful one of those, the central one, is the Nessus-Orcus opposition. And why that? Well, let's just go quickly back to the American nation's birth chart and you probably will see why. Nessus at 9 degrees Pisces is opposed by Orcus at 9 degrees Virgo. So this is one of the most exact oppositions in the American nation's chart. Nessus is in a nutshell, it's okay, now I'm missing the word. It's it's all the bad stuff. It's the sickness of the mind. It is all which we are dealing with, the deep state and everything. Let me just see if I find here the word which I'm looking for on my notes. Always when you look for something, you can't find it. Okay, there's too many papers here. Okay, let's see. Anyway. Yeah, sometimes I'm having a brain fart. So Nessus is that dark energy, the deep state, and it's the sickness of the mind. Orcus is alchemy and ritual. Okay, here we go. This is basically the energies we are dealing with of satanic abuse, which is here in this chart very prominent. So this would be a problem the American nation will have to deal with, which has been subversively used as a way to control people, as we know. Now, this is not just an opposition, there is a third point here and a fourth. So there's Pherois and Uranus, which are making a complete grand square. Pherois is the energy of protection, of caring. It's the mother bear's energy to stand up and put a stop to all that craziness, which is just now finally starting to gain momentum in a big way. Uranus is I would say the activator of that whole energy, as Uranus is now in Taurus, giving this manifestation and bringing it into the real tangible reality, all that energy. Uranus definitely is helping. It's kind of the, well, let's leave it at that for now. You see what I'm showing you here is that same structure, Orcus, Nessus, and now we have Huya here on the American nation's ascendant, and Bionor, and I want to also say something about those two. Bionor is the strong man, the free spirit, integrity, exuberant, expansive, generous, and Huya is named after a Venezuelan rain god, asking to open oneself for transformation, freeing oneself from karma, resolving past karma, transitioning to more flexible expressions, psychotherapy, elimination of a mental virus. And exactly that's what we are dealing with. We have to break through that firewall of false information and of deception. So this is the bigger picture. These four will be in and out of exact 90-degree angles and multiples of that through the next few years. They are all moving in sync, more or less. Nessus is probably the fastest of those. So getting out of sync here probably in a couple 3 years. So this is the big cleanup operation we are seeing in a bigger way. Now, as the Sun was conjunct Arrokoth, kind of that new that reboot of insight and of realization, of seeing the whole picture. That moment also we have Ceres, which is an asteroid faster moving here in this structure, actually quite exactly here in this consciousness axis. Ceres is the harvester, it's the earth goddess. It is caring and loving, and it's that motherly love Ceres brings in. So there's lots of empathy here too for all that which has to be revealed, and I spoke of that months ago, telling people who are listening here that this is a theme which is just getting started. These are very slow moving planets. Then the other one I want to put some, now I should quickly say or show you as I have these charts here, it's quite amazing how this is accentuated and highlighted and brought into the forefront. And so on January the 8th too, that day which had all these big shifts of energies, if you listen to my earlier video, the one I did on the 7th, which talks about those shifts, Mercury changing signs to Aquarius, Venus changing signs, and there's a few more. If you haven't listened to that one, I really recommend it. It shows you kind of the bigger picture too from another angle. So here we have Bienor and Huya opposing exactly, and this is the Greenwich chart, the global chart, and when these 2 points were exactly 180 degrees apart, they were in the consciousness axis, the plumb line for the 0 meridian, which is kind of the fractal for the whole planet. I wrote about that a short article a few days ago on my Celestial Rhythms Facebook page. Those of you who are not yet there, I invite you to join. So this is just very quickly, I don't want to stay too long here, but this is the midpoint chart between that moment of a new level of clarity setting in for the American nation with the nation's birth chart, and you see that 0 degree Scorpio rising. Very interesting also that President Trump's secondary progress ascendant has just crossed into Scorpio just short before the end of the year. So this is a very slow moving point in by secondary progressions, but this is a definitely a shift of the president's focus to be more intense, more committed even than before, bringing that plutonic core energy of rebirth and of transformation, transmutation. That's kind of the deeper layers of Scorpio. Interesting that in this midpoint chart there is Juno highlighted on the east point. Juno, again, partnership, working together, standing together as one people, making this all happen. That moon, black moon conjunction here with the American nation's sun. Just showing you here one more time quickly, 13 degrees 19, that's the American nation's natal sun. So this in itself shows that yes, this is a moment when a new level of intensity was introduced on that 8th of January, just a couple days ago. And on top of that, there's one more chart, right? Where has it gone? Let me see. This is the one, right, with the... Right. Okay. That's... Okay, I didn't even point that out yet. Yes, I really should. So this is the PNR-Huya opposition for Greenwich, as I said, exactly in the central axis of consciousness globally. And then on that same day, late in the night already, 9:45 p.m., it was in Washington, when the sun was exactly aligned with Arrokoth. Again, these two same planets, this time in Washington DC, again in the central axis of consciousness. So this is rare. This is really rare. This shows us that these energies are very prominent right now and will be for the next while. Okay, so this morning, January the 11th, pretty much of the start of the new week in Washington DC, the moon entered Capricorn. So the next 2.5 to 5 days will be when the moon is 2.5 in Capricorn, 2.5 in Aquarius. This will be a very intense time, and simply judging by the moon connecting with so many planets and Kuiper belt objects. So it is kind of getting everything in motion now. So the second big configuration, let's just move on here to this chart. Okay, I guess that's a good one where you can see what I'm wanting to share with you here. So yes, Jupiter and Saturn entered Aquarius on winter solstice, as we know, that big new beginning of a huge socio-economic cycle, as Jupiter and Saturn are representing that 20-year rhythm. But this was even bigger, as it was that 0-degree Aquarius, and the first time in a consequent rhythm now in air signs. Jupiter and Saturn will meet for the next 2 centuries, so it's pretty much was the beginning of that 2-century period. Jupiter Saturn here in the beginning of Aquarius opposing Varuna, and those two, or those 3 points, so to say, planets, T-squared by Rhadamanthus and TX300. Okay, now this is another one which is really slowly developing. These planets will be within orb for a long time, for probably at least this year, 2021. Jupiter and Saturn will be in this range, and these 3 others, they are even slower. So what are the meanings of those? Rhadamanthus is justice, named after that Hindu god, or Hindu king I should say, who was doing such a great job in being a just king that he was chosen by the gods after he had passed to be the one judging over the dead. Varuna has a similar frequency, also is named after a Hindu deity. Varuna is about righteousness and doing things the proper way. Also very much connected to law and justice. And then there's TX300, which is bold and strong in its expression, kind of too big of an energy to contain, so it can be very rude in a way and very raw. So this is the core structure, and now Saturn and Jupiter are activating this. Saturn is just pulling closely into the exactness of this big aspect within the next couple months. Jupiter already has kind of passed through it, so the light has been brought in. So the one which is fully activating it is now Mars, and Mars came into this sign of Taurus. It was just a short while ago. I guess it was. I guess it was about a week or so ago. And Mars is now closing in on the square with Saturn on the same day as new moon, the 13th. And I want to go back to one other screen here, which I have ready for you, which is this one. That's Q's posts from 3 years ago. And as often with Q, there is these multi-year predictions the same day a few years earlier. So on the 13th January of 2018, there were 13 posts. And it started with a big news week, future proofs past. What news was unlocked? Do you believe in coincidences? It keeps on going. There's lots in this post. I don't want to read it all, but there's tons. And then we are fighting for life. We are fighting for good. We are at war. Not everything will be clean. Scare, necessary events. So just be clear. We are at war. This is a red hot war now. Do you trust the US military? Do you trust the chain of command? Have faith. We are in control. There's lots in here. Then here is the different levels of operations, all encoded. Hard to understand that. And then we have 523 checkmate. So this is most certainly a prediction of what's happening right now. January the 13th, new moon. Yes, that is probably the day when things will be shifting again into a higher gear. So let me just okay, that's the next one I wanted to show you. Okay, Theroids. I just touched on Theroids before in the American chart as being at the T-square point of Orcus and Nessus. Theroids here. Actually, this is the exact spot where it is. Just too much going on here. That's why it's a little convoluted. So Theroids, the one which is representing that mother bear's energy to protect its cubs, to protect the vulnerable. And Theroids has been entering Leo in July 2017, has been navigating through this sign for the most part of the last 3 years, entered Virgo for a few months, and now tonight is revisiting Leo. And this is a big moment because this is kind of Theroids tying up loose ends of that period since 2017, and that will be on for a few months. Now, that moment when Pharos changes signs, I'm going to point this out, 27 degrees Leo rising and 27 degrees Aquarius, that is the American nation's moon. This is also President Trump's ascendant, 2955. And the solar eclipse of December 14th had that exact same axis. The other chart, which I talked about in an earlier video, is the chart of that first big hearing on the election fraud, which was in Pennsylvania in on, I forget the date, but that had that exact same axis, and I already then said that's a great omen that this kind of initiating the Second American Revolution, that was that moment after a few days after the elections had passed, when the fight was initiated to contest all and take on the deep state in a final way. So the American nation's moon is representing the people. You see it here, just quickly zooming back here, 27, 26, Aquarius. Now, what really struck me is that moment. If we do the midpoint chart between that moment when Pharos tonight re-enters Leo with the American nation's birth chart, which is the time-space midpoint of October 8, 1898, the midpoint between 1776 and 2021. So, okay, now look at this. In this midpoint chart, the Sun is at 1542 Libra, and what do you see here? Midpoint Pharos at 15 degrees 28 Aries. This in itself says that yes, this is a very important time for the American nation of taking back the control, of standing up for all those oppressed and minorities, the children and you name it, the poor, and everyone basically who has been suffering from all those enslavements on so many levels, all those controls which we are now breaking free from through the next few months. Okay, so I guess I leave it at this for now. The new moon will be really the turning point. Maybe, okay, there's one more thing I wanted to quickly throw in here. I already touched on that. Mars is now the one which will bring action. Mars joining in with that big square formation of Rhadamanthus, opposing Rhadamanthus, soon squaring Saturn and Jupiter here in early Aquarius, and also squaring Varuna. This will be the full activation of that, I would call it a manifestation of justice. So it came to me actually, you see we have, let's go to a different chart, it's probably easier. Let me just find one. They're all very similar naturally. Okay, let's use let's use this one. This is a good one, right? That's of today, Mercury and Jupiter conjunction. Yes, basically they're all pretty similar because they're all pretty much in the now, a few degrees here and there. The faster planets will have moved. So I want to show you something here. So let's focus on this Varuna TX300 and RHADAMANTHUS configuration, which gets activated. So the first one to activate it, and actually I will just show you this. I guess that's probably the best way to do it. We just this is a nice feature here this program gives. So let's just go back to let's say let's go back to November 3rd 2020, and then let's just do the midday chart. It doesn't really matter, but let's do the midday chart. So okay, so here we have PALLAS aligning with Jupiter and Pluto. That was really the beginning, the kickoff of the investigation, which came soon after. Naturally, you see it was actually on the 12th, pretty much, as I remember. Right, okay, that was the 12th of November. That is when the whole investigation began. PALLAS is the one who has been doing all the groundwork to investigate, to collect all the facts, and that has been going on since about November the 12th. And then, okay, that's going too fast here. Let's, okay, I didn't want to go that fast. Just shows you the nice feature here of this program. So then by early December, PALLAS had entered Aquarius and had been connecting with Saturn too, so all the evidence was getting consolidated. And now as we go into later of December, now you see Mercury is coming in and starting to voice it out, to bring it into the narrative. And by the 8th of January, just a few days ago, Mercury entered Aquarius, joining into this big square. And just yesterday and today now, Mercury is getting to be most exactly involved in that. And now the next planet which is moving into focusing in is Mars. And Mars, as we see, is now opposing RHADAMANTHUS on the Mars here, 340, 347, that is the 14th, that is the day when Uranus is also turning direct again, another big marker. And then, okay, I didn't want to go that fast. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to talk and to manipulate here my computer. Sometimes I'm having a little issues here. Forgive me that. So, yes, Mars is then squaring not just Saturn but also Jupiter, and then closing into Uranus. And on the 20th, actually, Uranus then will be pretty much exactly conjuncting Uranus, Mars-Uranus square Jupiter, and again opposing RHADAMANTHUS and Varuna. So in a nutshell, Mars is the one who is enacting in Taurus, bringing some real body to all that claim and making it visible, bring it into three-dimensional manifestation, so to say. So it's really, I mean, biblical, the whole thing. It's happening on so many levels, an integration and an exposure. If we just stay with this chart for the end of this little show again, zooming in on Pherois, the Moon-Venus conjunction is beautiful. It really says it all in a nutshell. It's the coming together of the people in harmony and in balance, and putting their foot down in Capricorn, taking control as the Sun closes in on Pluto, Pluto being the one we are focusing on, power structures which have to be reconfigured and redesigned from the very start and bottom up. Okay, I guess that's long enough. I don't want to stress your patience, and talk to you soon again. I love you all. Thank you.